The old mansion stood alone, deep in the woods, hidden by trees and time. No one dared go near. Locals told stories, whispers of tragedy, a family lost, a curse left behind. We should have listened, but we were young, foolish, drawn to the unknown. The woods themselves felt wrong. The air grew cold as we approached. The trees seemed to watch, their branches like skeletal fingers, reaching for us. There were 5 of us. 5 souls bound by a mix of curiosity and a hint of recklessness. We were drawn together by a shared thirst for adventure, or maybe just stupidity. It was hard to tell the difference sometimes. We had always been a tight-knit group, each of us bringing something unique to the table. Our bond was forged in the fires of countless escapades, each more daring than the last. Mark, the leader, always pushing boundaries. He had a knack for finding the most thrilling and often dangerous adventures. His confidence was infectious, making us believe we could conquer anything. Emily, the skeptic, trying to hide her fear. She was the voice of reason, always questioning our decisions, but never backing down. Her skepticism was our safety net, though she often masked her own fears. Chris, the joker, masking his unease with humor. His jokes were our lifeline, breaking the tension when things got too intense. But behind his laughter, we knew he was just as scared as the rest of us. Jessica, the quiet one, observing everything. She had an uncanny ability to notice the smallest details, things the rest of us would overlook. Her silence spoke volumes, and her insights often guided us. And me, David, just along for the ride, hoping it wouldn't become a nightmare. I was the glue that held us together, the one who tried to keep the peace and ensure we all made it through our adventures unscathed. We stood at the edge of the clearing, the forest behind us, whispering secrets we couldn't quite understand. The air was thick with anticipation and a hint of dread. The mansion looming before us, its silhouette like a jagged wound in the dying light. It was an old, decrepit structure, rumored to be haunted. The stories we had heard about it were enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Doubt flickered in their eyes. We all felt it, the unspoken question of whether this was a good idea. But our pride and the pact we had made kept us from turning back. But no one spoke the words we all felt. The silence was heavy, each of us lost in our own thoughts, wondering if we were making a huge mistake. We had made a pact, a stupid, reckless pact, to go inside, to face whatever lay within those walls. It was a test of our courage, our friendship, and perhaps our sanity. As we took our first steps towards the mansion, the weight of our decisions settled over us like a shroud. There was no turning back now. We were committed to seeing this through, no matter what awaited us inside. The front door creaked open, its hinges groaning under the weight of years gone by, as if inviting us in, or perhaps warning us of the secrets it held within its ancient walls. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay, a pungent reminder of the passage of time and neglect. Dust hung heavy in the air, swirling in the faint beams of light that managed to penetrate the gloom, catching the faint moonlight that filtered through grimy windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Each footstep echoed in the silence, a stark contrast to the bustling world outside. Our voices, usually so loud, were hushed whispers, as if the house demanded our silence. Afraid to break the spell of the house, we tread carefully, each step a cautious venture into the unknown, or perhaps awaken something within. We moved deeper, the darkness growing thicker with each step, the darkness seeming to press in around us, an almost tangible force that made the air feel heavy. Each room the same, empty, yet echoing with the memories of those who once lived here, yet filled with a palpable sense of dread, as if the very walls were imbued with the emotions of the past, as if the walls themselves held their breath, waiting for what we did not know. But the feeling was undeniable. Faded family portraits lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow us as we moved. An old grandfather clock stood in the corner, its hands frozen in time, covered in a thick layer of dust. Cobwebs adorned the corners, a testament to the years of abandonment. Old furniture, covered in white sheets, stood like ghostly sentinels, guarding the secrets of the past. A single candle flickered in the darkness, casting dancing shadows on the walls. We ascended the creaky wooden staircase, each step a journey deeper into the heart of the mansion. The attic door was slightly ajar, a faint light spilling out, beckoning us to uncover what lay within. The attic was filled with forgotten items, old trunks and treasures covered in dust, each with its own story to tell. On a dusty table lay an old diary, its cover faded and worn, waiting to reveal the secrets of the past. With trembling hands, we opened the diary, the pages brittle and yellowed with age. The handwritten entries told a story of love, loss, and mystery. A glimpse into the lives of those who once called this place home. We closed the diary, the weight of its secrets heavy in our hands, and knew that the mansion had shared only a fraction of its story. As we left the mansion, stepping back into the night, we couldn't shake the feeling that we had been part of something much larger, a story that spanned generations. The mansion stood bathed in moonlight, a silent guardian of its many secrets, waiting for the next visitors to uncover its mysteries. The basement was cold, the air damp and heavy, the smell of mildew strong. A single lantern cast long, dancing shadows. We fanned out, our voices echoing strangely in the confined space. Mark called out, his voice tight with excitement. We found him in a small room, a desk in the center, and on it a book, bound in ancient leather, its pages filled with strange symbols. Section 5, Divided They Fall.
Chris joked about summoning a demon.
Emily dismissed it as nonsense.
But the book had cast a spell on Mark.
He started reading aloud.
The words ancient, unknown. We should have stopped him, but fear held us back.
A sudden gust of wind slammed a door shut, the sound echoing through the house.
Panic flared. We scattered, like rats in a maze, each of us lost in our own fear, separated, vulnerable. Section 6. Spectre of the Past. I stumbled through the dark, my heart pounding in my chest, each creak of the floorboards sending shivers down my spine. Then I saw her, a figure, standing at the end of the hall, a woman in a white gown, her face obscured by shadow. Her eyes glowed with an eerie light. She reached out towards me, her voice a mournful whisper, full of sadness and rage. Section 7. Breaking the Chains. The night was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. The mansion stood ominously, its dark silhouette a stark contrast against the cloudy sky. I found the others, huddled together in the main hall. Their eyes darted around, searching for any sign of movement. The air was heavy with fear, and every creak of the old wooden floorboards made them jump, their faces pale with terror. It was as if the very essence of fear had taken hold of them, draining the color from their cheeks and leaving them frozen in place. Mark was muttering to himself, clutching the book. He had unleashed something. His eyes were wide with a mix of fear and regret, his hands trembling as he held the ancient tome. The words he spoke were barely audible, but their power was undeniable. We could all feel it, a presence that was both unseen and yet unmistakably there. It was as if the very walls of the mansion were alive, watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike. The air crackled with energy. It was a tangible force, making the hairs on the back of our necks stand on end. Every breath we took was filled with the electric charge of the supernatural. The house seemed to groan around us. Emily screamed. Her voice echoed through the halls, a chilling reminder of the danger we were in. The walls seemed to close in, the shadows growing darker and more oppressive. She had seen it too, the ghostly figure. It glided towards us. Its movements were smooth and deliberate, as if it was floating on air. The temperature dropped noticeably, and our breaths became visible in the cold, its eyes fixed on Mark. Jessica acted. The intensity of its gaze was almost unbearable, and Mark seemed rooted to the spot, unable to move or speak. She lunged for the book. Her movements were swift and determined, driven by a desperate need to stop whatever had been unleashed, her fingers closing around its leather cover. She started reciting words, backwards, undoing the spell. The air around us seemed to vibrate with the power of her words, and the ghostly figure began to waver, its form becoming less distinct. We held our breath, hoping against hope that she would succeed in breaking the chains that bound us to this nightmare. Section 8. Flight Through Darkness. The figure flickered, its form wavering. The house shuddered. Dust rained down from the ceiling. We didn't wait to see more. We ran, our fear lending us speed, through the dark corridors, stumbling down the stairs, each of us desperate to escape the nightmare we had unleashed. The front door burst open. We spilled out into the night, gasping for air. Section 9. The Curse Remains. We left the mansion behind, hidden in the woods, a dark secret buried deep in our memories. We never spoke of that night again, but sometimes, in my dreams, I see her, the woman in white, her eyes filled with sadness. And I know that the curse is not truly broken. It lingers still, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to stumble upon the mansion in the woods.